Hey, everybody, welcome to a special episode of the Crazy Ralph podcast. I'm Jason, and I'm joined with my co host.
Your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete.
And we are here with a man who needs no introduction, but he's going to get one anyway, as it looks like if he doesn't, we're in trouble. We're with Ari Lehman, first Jason to ever,
Right.
that's right, to ever play the role, the first. And he's here. Thank you, Ari.
It's me, Ari Lehman, rhymes with demon, the very first actor to ever play Jason Voorhees. Yes, we shot that movie in 1979. Can you
19.
believe it?
That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's amazing, and we're gonna talk a lot about that movie and the production because I'm actually very interested in the production. So let's start off with how you got the role. How did Ari jump to the top of the pile and become Jason?
Well, that's a nice way of putting it, but that's not what happened really. Uh, there was no audition for the little Jason role, of course, because how could you audition somebody to just splash around in the water? But to tell you the story, I was in the movie that Sean Cunningham, the director of Friday the 13th, made previously to Friday the 13th. And that film was called Manny's Orphans. It was about a ragtag bunch of orphans who win their orphanage back from the mafia in a soccer tournament. Okay. As a little kid, I was pretty good at playing soccer. In fact, yeah, director Sean Cunningham, when he picked me up to do Manny's Orphans, I was actually on the soccer field, and he asked Coach Chacho. He said, "Coach Chacho, is it okay? We're bringing Ari to do some acting. Is this going to ruin his soccer career?" And Coach Chacho said, "No, it's okay. You know, Ari's pretty good. He's pretty good, but he's in all the school plays. So I was, and soccer was very popular then. So Manny's Orphans actually had Werner Roth and Pele in it, two big soccer stars. It was actually shot in Cosmos Stadium. Part of it was shot in Cosmos Stadium. So, but nobody played soccer in 1978 in America. So Paramount Pictures passed on Manny's Orphans for feature distribution. And as often happens in the movie world, they said, "Hey, you've still got a contract. Give us something else." They said to Sean Cunningham, and they said to him, "We like that movie you did with Wes Craven, Last House on the Left." So Sean turned to Victor Miller, who wrote Friday the 13th. So as the casting process went along, they realized they're going to need a little boy in the lake. And initially, Jason Voorhees was only going to be seen as a drowning child. That was supposed to be the only iteration of Jason Voorhees in all of cinematic history. But I changed that. And so, so what happened was, um, they filmed the first sequence where little Jason drowns in the flashback scene of Mama Voorhees, where she says, "He was my only son. Today is his birthday. He wasn't a very good swimmer." And little Jason drowns. And that was going to be it. Paramount Pictures again passed on Friday the 13th in August of 1979. They used the regular test audience, was probably out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And they didn't like it. Old mama got her head chopped off, okay, and the little boy drowned.
Mhm.
And that's not, they needed an ending. There needed to be some kind of closure. So for 2 months, it was up in the air. It was in August of 1979 that I got, no, pardon me, October. In October of 1979, I got another call from Sean Cunningham. He said, "We want you to come back to the set." And I said, "Wow, that's amazing." Um, we got there, and it was revealed, of course, that Jason would kind of have his revenge. Actually, he said that to me on the phone. I said, when he called me up, this was the second time, Sean called me initially and asked me famously, "Can you swim?" And I said, "Yes." But see, this time, Sean asked me a different question because I had drowned. And being a kid, I was kind of like, man, this is a bummer. I just play this little boy who drowns in a movie. That's that's not very promising. So when he called me up, I was so happy. And he said, "Ari, you get your revenge." He literally said that line to me. And
Sold it
I
to you.
goosebumps. And I was like, yes, because he knew how invested I was being a kid.
Yeah.
Director Sean Cunningham has to really be praised. He doesn't get enough credit. It was the way that he got the actors to kind of not overdo it and to
Mhm.
internalize it. And so he knew I felt that way. And he said, "You get your revenge." But that comes up later because um yeah. So that's how it all happened. When
Wow.
Paramount Pictures saw that final sequence, they were so thrilled that they distributed Friday the 13th in 800 theaters across the country on the very same day, gentlemen, because they didn't want the word of mouth to get out there about the little boy.
Mhm.
What
Oh.
what happened
Mhm.
was people just started bringing their friends and not telling them about the ending and waiting for them to be scared. So yeah, that was the whole
Wow.
thing. I
That's fantastic.
auditioned for Manny's Orphans. The audition for Manny's Orphans happened at the YMCA in Westport, Connecticut. I just went in there. I didn't have an agent. I just, brave little kid that I was, I had heard that they needed somebody to audition who could act and could also play soccer. The
There you
way they
go.
did that was because Sean had done another movie just before that, which was kind of a baseball comedy,
Okay.
take off on the Bad News Bears. It was called "Here Come the Tigers." So, I guess that's how he got the funding for Manny's Orphans, and
Wow, that's
you
amazing.
know,
That's a great story.
that's
Well told too, because it's pretty in depth, and just to kind of hear that. So okay, so you get the call back. You're heading up again. I'm assuming you're based in New York at the time.
no, 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 no,
No.
no. I was living in Westport, Connecticut, the
Okay.
same town where Sean Cunningham had his base of operations. He had his full setup in Westport, Connecticut. Yeah.
Okay, so you're heading up from Connecticut to New Jersey to film that last scene. What did you know on the way up? Like, what would did he told you that you're getting your revenge, but did you know anything beyond that?
Well, yes. Well, I knew that Jason was going to look. Um, he was going to be all muddy and bloody and deformed, even more kind of like waterlogged and because he had been underwater for so long, and we had discussed the whole aspect of, you know, him being dead. And so at first he was deformed, and then he was dead and deformed.
Yeah.
So the thing is, the reason why I say that I changed it is because in filmmaking, you never really know what the heck is going to happen until it happens. And the only thing that matters is what's going through that lens. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
great Betsy Palmer, she was amazing because she created an entire backstory for Pamela Voorhees, and you can see that resonate in her character.
Hmm.
Um, they never should have opened this camp, da da da. And she's really, it's inside her, the story. So that's what's so amazing. But you see, for this ending sequence, it was largely based on how it came off. And Sean really wanted to scare the crap out of Adrienne King. Okay. Adrienne King, who played Alice Hardy, was sitting in the boat. Great actress. She had done an amazing job working so hard on the entire movie. Now she had to come back and
Yeah.
and
Oh.
endure endure this thing, Um, and I don't recall it being cold because I was just a crazy kid. Now it says it was a very cold day. So, You know, I would have done it if I wouldn't have cared. I would have chopped a hole in the ice to do that.
Yeah.
Of course.
I always knew that that last, scene was shot as, like, an afterthought, but I had no idea that you guys had wrapped already, the whole production kinda wrapped, and then it was you guys went back and shot that. I didn't know that. That was
It was Sean Cunningham. I had always wondered about the details. Sean Cunningham and I were at an event in Germany. He told them all the details, and and here's the best part, because now you know an actress is waiting for the director to say action. You see where I'm going with this?
yeah, yep.
Yep.
And, so Sean comes over to me and he whispers. I had everything on, you know, and me and Tom and Tasso were there, and it was like, how are we gonna scare her? How are we gonna get this scared? You know, it was like, like you're waiting behind the bookcase, waiting to scare your kid
It's
sister.
like I was gonna say, it's like kids in high school, right? Like, yeah.
Telling you, man. So we were giggling, and Sean says to me, "Okay, the cameras are rolling. You wouldn't hear me say action anyway because you're underwater. So just go out in the water. Don't let her see the mask and go behind the boat and look up and wait for the bubbles to clear." And then he said something I'll never forget. He said, "You're the director on this scene, Ari." Perfect thing to say to little Ari Lehman. I mean,
That's awesome. Yeah, what a director.
it's what the director says to the actor that,
Yeah.
you
Talk
know.
Mhm.
about so
So so I was like, I'm the director. I'm the director. I'm the director. I went out in the water. I did just as he said. I waited for the bubbles to clear. But then I thought, what's my motivation? And I was like, am I going to come out kind of playfully, like we're just playing at camp? Or am I going to come out? I thought that maybe they thought that I was just going to kind of flop over like a dead child, right? But then it occurred to me, bitch killed my mother. And that
Yep.
became my motivation. And I just grabbed the side of the boat and I come up out of the water and I'm like, ugh. And then I realized that this nice lady who I've literally not actually met, like we had been on the set together, but we hadn't actually met. And this nice lady had no idea what was going on. And so she turns around and looks at me. And this is where they cut that edit. She just goes, ah, and her face. And she lost it. And then she went, oh shit. And she fell out of the boat.
Wow.
So they had to very quickly dry, they put her, they had to dry off her skirt. They had to dry her hair. They brought out a blow dryer to dry her hair. So if you see, now there was two takes. They sand,
I was gonna ask.
they sandwiched that first take. It's much more close up and it's green. Okay. That first take is sandwiched in between the second take, which is a medium shot that's much more yellow because
Mhm.
in fact it was autumn. Okay.
Yeah.
So you see the medium shot, and this time they get so Sean didn't want to tell Adrian what he had done. Um, they were happy they had gotten that reaction, but they didn't, so they're doing another take. And of course she says to me, you jumped the gun. He didn't say action. And I'm looking at Sean like, you know, so exactly. I was like, and there's even a picture like where I'm looking at Sean, you could see this picture and she's going like this. And I'm like, and that's at Thompson, he's there laughing in his waders. That's a famous picture. So
That's
anyway,
great.
you get all the behind the scenes here. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, that was a crazy moment because I wanted to say, he told me to do that. But I
As a kid.
but I was cool enough to know,
Yeah.
Sean's like, don't say anything. So so in fact, he teased me. He goes, okay, this time, Ari, we want you to just go like this, but this time, please don't manhandle our actress. Very very dry wit of Sean Cunningham.
Yeah.
Of course, again, I thought, wow, like I was 14.
Yeah.
I thought I manhandled an actress,
Well, it's funny funny because, and this is, common knowledge, and if you watch any of the, back behind the scenes and stuff like that, Betsy Palmer roughed her up, right? So, she roughed her up in the fight scene, then you're so maybe there's a little bit of sensitivity that Sean needed to, tend to with, Adrian there.
Yeah,
So, in
Betsy
fairness.
her Betsy slapped Adrian, and Adrian forgave her. Betsy slapped Adrian because it was in the script, and Betsy's thing came from theater, and in theater, you slap somebody. So,
You gotta do it.
um,
Yep.
famous Adrian did complain to Sean, and then Sean told Betsy, and whatever. But in the long run, of course, they made up. Well, I mean, Mama slams her head into the beach. Remember, guys?
Yeah.
That was a pretty rough
It was
scene, and it was
yeah, no, for
freezing
sure, and you
cold.
see it, right?
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah.
so it was a 2 take, jump then.
Yeah. So yeah, you see that when you watch that scene now, you'll see the second take, he's coming up like this, and then they go in close for the first take, which is hard cut on her reaction. And then it goes back to and to her credit, in the second take, she looks like she doesn't know I'm there. Okay, that's acting. And again,
Yeah,
watch Adrian, because she lives in the Pacific Northwest in the middle of the woods, and she knows how to canoe and everything. So when she goes backwards, she totally goes backwards for the dunk without moving, which is, I don't know if every actress out there could do that.
yeah,
So
well,
yeah,
yep. Great,
Adrian
good
can't.
for her. She's a
Yeah,
trooper. We love her in this world of Friday the 13th for sure.
yeah. I
So,
don't know if she's ever sincerely forgiven me, but I love.
we'll have to get her on the show and ask her. So you shoot it, it's a 2 shot. How long was that day? How like, I'm assuming it was a 1-day shoot for that sequence. How long was it? Was it a
That one
lengthy
was quick.
Oh, it
That
was?
one was quick. As a matter of fact, um, yeah, Tom said, we don't have it's prosthetics. It wasn't waterproof. It was an
Yeah.
alginate prosthetic. So, if we had stayed in the water too long, it wouldn't have worked. And the other thing was, they were shooting it like in magic hours. So it was like, you know, and I remember Sean
Mm.
saying, you got we did that take, and even though he was happy with it, he was conveying to everybody, "Oh, we needed another take because we fucked up the first one." Pardon me, but um, yeah. So he says to me, "We got to do this in one." No pressure. But
Yeah, exactly.
I
Emerging
had
from
influence on the
underwater.
whole. Well, because of my motivation decision, bitch killed my mom, and to come out of the water with that kind of aggression,
Yep,
that's what created Jason Voorhees. Because
it worked.
Jason Voorhees, just a drowning child, a helpless drowning child. And I was thinking about my friends at the back of the class that everybody made fun of. My friends that I would talk to, that, whatever. I was the kid who would talk to everybody. So I would talk to, I remember Jimmy in the back of the class, and I was doing it for him. And I was like, I thought about it too. I thought maybe people will think negative things about kids like that. But then again, I thought it's a movie, and
Yeah,
and all kinds of people do all kinds of things in movies, and those kids need that kind of representation, a silent nod to their
yeah.
validity. And
Mhm.
and I'll tell you what, throughout my life, um, I know that it definitely reached those people because a lot of those wonderful people who have all kinds of different, spectrum, whatnot, they always come to my table with their mom, and it's always the mom and the little boy, and so they really relate to
Yeah,
Jason, or the
that's
dad
awesome.
and the little girl, and
Yeah.
I always tell them it's a family story about a mother who loved her son so much she just lost her head.
Exactly. Well put. So you didn't really work with much of the cast, just mostly Adrian, right? You didn't really get to hang out too much with the others?
In the water, the first one alone, and the second one with Adrian. I was
Okay.
on the set with others though. While
Okay.
I was on the set, of course, Adrian was there, although, she chose not to talk to me, but
Well,
it's a little
just kind
kid.
of
And
yeah.
then, but also, Harry Crosby was on the set, and Kevin Bacon was on the set, and all that whole gang was on the set. And those two guys took the time out, seeing a little kid. I mean, I looked especially little, and they were like concerned, like there goes Ari. I mean, there's this story about when I was looking into the water to try to get into character, and Kevin Bacon had been taking a piss, and he comes out and he sees me, and I think he got concerned, like, oh, this poor child, he's gonna be he's gonna get all messed up. And he looks at me and I'm like, all right. And he said, what are you doing, Ari? And I'm like, I'm getting into character. It's like, oh my God, he just
Cool.
started laughing so hard. He literally fell on the ground laughing.
That's
And he
great.
called Harry Crosby over. He said, tell him what you're doing. Tell him what you're
That's pretty
doing.
cool.
And no serious actor on the set. He told me that they were all just trying to bang the actresses.
Listen, that's
That's what he said.
look, hey man, that's they're all young, they're all ready to go. Who can
Yeah.
blame them, right?
It
Kids
was
Um,
camp.
79.
exactly. And so I just Pete, I'm gonna let you get in there in a sec. I just wanted to kind of touch on Tom Savini. Obviously, you worked with a legend in the industry. Already he had been quite prolific in that world. Couple
Right. It was just after Dawn of the Dead
yeah.
with Romero. He came right after working with George Romero.
So yeah, so he comes in and he works with you. A couple of questions. One, I'm kind of curious. Well, obviously, what was he like with the whole thing? Because I heard that he was very he was involved with that ending. So maybe you could kind of touch on that. And the other thing, I'm kind of curious. I've never where was the makeup done? Did you guys go in a cabin or like was there a
Question. Yeah. Well, great questions. Working with Tom Savini was so amazing because as a little kid, it showed me that you could you could have a career based on your imagination. The more imaginative that you could be, the more amazing things that you could come up with and make real, um, the more the success you would have in that field. And I certainly apply that to music. And just he was very charismatic and so much fun to be around. And also, it wasn't just Tom. There's Tasso Stavrakis and the two of them had these big mustaches, which is probably why I have a big mustache. The two of them had these big mustaches, and it was like the Cheech and Chong of horror. They were so funny, and all the gals on the set just loved Tasso and Tom, and my God, it was just fun to be around them. Um, there was a lot of hard work. We would wake up super early. Um, so director Sean Cunningham created a studio because it took 4 months to create everything. First, they had to cast my head, then they had to create the mask, then there's glass eye fitting and the teeth fit and all that stuff. It's a lot of work. And let's remember that pardon me, Tom Savini sculpted that mask. I mean, what he did, that was done by hand. Okay. And so the process, it took some trial and error. In fact, the first one and the first time that we shot the drowning sequence was rejected by Sean Cunningham for several reasons. But the main one was that they felt that the mask looked too realistic and too much like a poor little boy that you'd sympathize with.
Mm,
So they didn't want the audience to they wanted it to be kind of like half revulsion, half sympathy. So
yeah.
so they flattened the nose and they changed the mouth and they kind of changed the way it looked and honestly, it's a good thing they did
Smart.
that.
Yeah.
Came out looking much better, and that's to Tom's credit as an
Mhm.
artist.
Yeah.
Purely as an artist, that's what he did, and yeah, so the second time we did it, though, we did it in one take, and that was great. But so yeah, it was in Weston, Connecticut that they set up this preliminary workshop, and so it was out in the middle of the woods, and it was so fun, because Tom had literally brought all of his special effects gear there, and he had busts of like Lon Chaney and Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff and Vincent Price and a pet chinchilla and there was like severed heads and limbs and there was all kinds of weapons and prop explosives and you know uh, yeah, we would have a lot of fun. And Tom was known for, if there was nothing to do, he would throw a saber at you and say, defend yourself, like, oh God, I remember him jumping up on the table. And up there, man, you had to be on your toes, let me tell you.
That's
So
hilarious.
when we were on the set,
Yeah.
it was and they'll show you this if you go to the Camp Crystal Lake tours. Um, although, I mean, now
I
the
have
story.
been. I have been. I went in 2018. It was before it kind of exploded into what it's become now. But yeah, I definitely want to go back, but I did go there in
Show you the
2018.
pizza oven. Did they show you the pizza oven?
No.
Okay. So the pizza oven, which is still the oven, is
Okay.
where they cooked Mama's head when they had to do that. Mama's head thing
Really?
for when they rolled the thing.
That's
And
hilarious.
so behind the pizza oven, there's a room that's now being used as a storage room. But that room, they had put in a barber chair and a bunch of mirrors, and it was all cleared out, and that's where Tom had his workshop back there.
Awesome.
And I remember when first time I went back to visit Crystal Lake, um, it was amazing. I walked through that door and it was just like, whoa.
Hmm.
Uh,
Imagine.
it was amazing. And one thing they did, as long as you're on that, which was pretty amazing and special, and I haven't talked about in a long time, is that again, Tom and Tasso were about the acting. They really wanted to make the character or something. So the entire time they were working on the process, they did not allow me to see the mask the entire time. And I was in this barber chair. So they said, okay, Ari, we're going to do something now. We want you to close your eyes and count to 10. And we're going to turn the barber chair around so you're facing the mirror. And we're going to leave the studio. So they turned the chair around
Awesome.
and I counted to 10 and I was all alone. And it was probably like 6 in the morning, little birds chirping and very early in the morning. And I opened my eyes and I was absolutely shocked. The first thing I thought was, who the fuck? Who's that? Who's
Yeah.
he? What? I
Wow.
looked around like
That's a cool trick.
I didn't even think it was me at all. And then I, oh wow, And so I looked at little Jason for the first time, and I was sad. I was so sad. I saw, and then I thought, oh, and then I got angry. And that's where, see, they knew
Game
like
face.
to let the feeling come up. So it's the feeling that makes the mask real. If you
Yeah.
get the feeling that the artist is intending, you know,
That's awesome. Very,
That's
you
very
really
have
cool.
cool.
to have if you have the intention, then the audience will feel the energy.
Yeah. 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 No, and that's all these are great stories. Was there and did you shoot anything that wasn't used in the film?
Yeah, the first time we shot the drowning sequence, it was not used in the film for several reasons. One was, as I said, because it looked too realistic and Sean felt people would sympathize with it. And when they were just getting started, it was early in the process. Also, because there's a famous picture of it's always black and white, and I'm like this, and Tom is going like this from the side,
Yeah, yeah.
and you can see that neither of us is very awake because yeah, the night before, I guess it was 1979, and you know there might have been a little partying on the set.
Yeah.
I famously I brought marijuana to the set of Friday the 13th.
You did, okay.
Marijuana and hashish, and which was okay because there was way too much cocaine on the set, and they needed my weed to So anyway, things that night might have gotten, and we were a little yeah, we were a little worse for wear. So Sean said, we're gonna shoot it again, and this time you guys get some sleep. I want to see you frosty on the set, which I guess I know what that meant for Tom, but not for
So, you brought the weed, who brought the coke? Can you say that? No, probably not, no.
me. They all did.
They all
They
did, yeah.
all- oh my God, they would all go into the kitchen and come back in. Ari Lehman, Ari Lehman, the Hari Krishna. They were. It
That
was.
is hilarious.
We didn't even know Coke was bad back then. It was
Yeah.
like it was like an energy drink or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, the story about the weed is funny because when they picked me up in their car, it was Tasso and Tom. And you could see, oh, there's these cool guys. And they picked me up and they're like, oh, now we got to babysit this kid. And I was even younger than I was. And they were going to be like, oh, what a drag. So I didn't want that to happen. So I had brought a tin filled with the finest marijuana and a big chunk of blonde hash right on top. So so they go, oh, okay, hi, how are you? And I go, do you guys party? And they look at me, what? And I go like this, doink, and the top of the thing opens up and it's filled with hash. And the two of them just look at each other and they go, this is gonna be fun. Dad's great adventure. Oh
That's
my God.
awesome.
Yeah. And so
See,
I was very popular on the set.
that's
That's
who
awesome.
knew?
Theorized, now you guys, I don't know. I've often theorized that when they said, well, what are we going to do for a final sequence? We need to come up with a final sequence. And Tom Savini said, heck, if I'm going back in the middle of those woods in middle of New Jersey in 1979, when it was impossible to get weed anywhere, right?
Mm.
Ari's got to be there. So maybe, and this is just a thought, maybe he said, I know, how can we write Jason back in there? Just a thought. You'd have to confer that with Tom.
Yeah, we have to see. We'll have to ask him about that one for sure. That's hilarious. That's a great story. So was there any with post production and stuff like that? Was there any kind of a rap party? I don't think there was. Was there? Or
Yes, there was. Yeah,
oh,
there
okay.
was. At Sean Cunningham's house in Westport, Connecticut.
So who
And
was there? Let's hear a story from this party.
I can't remember everything about that party.
So
I
was
don't think
it was that good, eh?
That's a good party.
every time he had parties at his house, and then everybody would go swimming. Uh, and yeah, and not always wearing clothes, but yeah, it was the 70s,
It was a good
guys.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being at Sean Cunningham's house, and one of the actresses fully disrobed and just jumped in the pool, and I was like, "Whoa!" Well, there you
Right.
go. There's something from the
There's something. You're not going to tell us who, but
specifically who it was, but whoa, and
who who
but
did
that
you
was normal back then, and nobody thought anything of it, and then yeah, so yeah,
from the film?
there was something else. Oh, yeah, that's it. That Well, I wasn't allowed to watch the movie when it came out because
Uh,
I it had gone. I think that it was playing in the Westport movie theater, but I wasn't allowed to go to the movie because I was only 15. But
no
I was
special
allowed to watch.
privileges? Come on.
What? No, they knew. Like at the theater, they were like, "We know, we can't let you in." Sorry.
But like, I mean, couldn't Sean have given you a special screening? Come on, that's
Oh no,
I don't
no.
know.
I saw rush takes at the beginning. I don't even know. I think they had it like I would see. They would show me. Oh, this is your scene. But the first time I saw the entire film was actually on a VCR.
Wow.
That was the first time I saw the entire Friday the 13th movie was on a VCR at a Halloween party. I think that the following year. Yeah, pretty sure.
And what
Yeah,
did you think? What did you think of it?
I thought because everybody's like, okay, let's watch this movie. Ari's in the movie. And so we're watching. They're like, when did you come in? We're like, what part are you in? Ari's not in this movie. He's lying. Why did you, please? Until the very end. And they're like, ah! And then nobody would look at me. They're like,
That's
that's you?
hilarious.
That's you?
That's crazy.
Ah! Like, in the 70s, in the late 70s, early 80s, horror wasn't hip and cool. It was
Mhm.
like, I don't know, one step above porn or something. So people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, that's gross. You play that gross little kid."
True, it's a good
So
point. It's a good point.
wasn't like part three, and then people were coming up to me and going, you know, and
I
then
guess
part three when Hockey Mask Jason came in, then
it,
you know, I
it
don't know.
became something. Okay,
That's-
we'll get into that in a second. I just and I know Uncle Pete's going to be asking you about your music. We'll get to that shortly. But Uncle Pete, is there anything from the production that you wanted to talk to Ari about?
No, you covered a lot of it, but yeah, I think you covered everything. Just like getting to meet all those Tom Savini and the little weed stories. I love hearing those little stories about like that behind the scenes stuff. And like what I loved is how you told like Adrian didn't know you were gonna go, so you get that real shock fear, like, oh, what the hell's going on? So
yeah,
it's stories like that that I just love hearing.
yeah, you got to hand it to Sean Cunningham. Um, he took risks, and you got to do that. And it was extremely low budget, you guys. You got to understand for that time period, you know, wow, they were really pioneers.
Yeah.
And I think that after all is said and done, and we've gone through all of this with AI and CGI, and then kind of extreme gore, but then recently there's been two films that got a lot of attention, which I thought was amazing, and that's Obsession and Back Rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those movies, I think, are similar in the sense that it's not all about a lot of technical stuff, and
Yeah.
it's not all about extreme gore. It's more psychological, and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. So the i- in the short term, like you were saying, I guess. Well, God, my Jason's falling here. In the short
Yeah.
term, the movie didn't do anything, I guess, for you as far as like popularity in school with girls and all that stuff. I guess it was more the reverse, was it? Or
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's always that cachet of being an actor, and
yeah,
but yeah, it did not have like massive popularity at my school. And then I went to New York University later, and there were students there who knew. They were like, "Oh, you played the young Jason Voorhees," but it wasn't. It was just seen as something kind of trivial and
okay,
something. You know,
Mhm.
I don't because as the years passed and Jason became,
yeah.
this heroic figure. Um, then it really captured people's
Yeah.
attention.
So
No.
you effectively, you disappeared for a couple of decades. You really didn't, you were movies, you were kind of done with it. In that way.
Didn't disappear.
Well,
I
like
I went into the music business.
yes, that's what I was segueing into that. So,
Yeah, I made a conscious decision after being on the set of Friday the
mhm,
13th, although it was enormously fun. Um, it's just that filmmaking is nothing like doing theater, and it's nothing like rocking out in between a kick-ass band and a screaming crowd, which is the most amazing thing and the most visceral thing and the most instantaneous gratif- gratifying thing. Um, and it's amazing because when you shoot a movie, you say your lines, and then they go back to your trailer, and they move
yeah,
everything around, and they say come back, say the same line, and then they move everything around, and then so it's not very spontaneous, and it takes a certain type of person who has enormous patience and a certain type of social uh behavior that, it's a challenge, and I respect those who
For
can do
sure.
it. I Since I lived in Westport, Connecticut, what happened was I met some amazing piano teachers. I got a scholarship from Dr. Billy Taylor for jazz piano. I won a big competition. And so I decided I wanted to study in New York City because at that time, I was playing jazz piano, and jazz piano was a thing at that time. Like for the price of a beer, I could go downstairs and hear like Hank Jones and Tommy Flanagan and McCoy Tyner, and I saw George Coleman. I saw all the great players. Like it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I was studying jazz, and jazz was happening, and that was an amazing thing. So, but then what happened was smooth jazz came out. Okay, the smooth jazz, and
Okay.
which no, I wasn't. That was like Kenny G. You know, Kenny G, smooth jazz thing, and so jazz itself kind of became either smooth jazz or academic jazz. And I didn't want to become a teacher, and I didn't want to become a goofball. So I started looking around for what to do, and people are like, "You look like Kenny G. Look at you, look at Kenny G. Hey, Kenny G." I'd be walking down the street there, Kenny G. And then, oh man. So what happened was because there was an amazing community in New York at the time, and world music was coming up. Reggae, African music, Latin music, music from all over the world was getting very popular. I happened to know a lot of people from West Africa, and I ended up auditioning for a band from Nigeria. And I got, yes, I started playing keyboard and singing for a band from Nigeria, an artist named Majek Fashek, who was seen as the next Bob Marley, and he could also play guitar. It's like Bob Marley meets Jimi Hendrix from Africa. And he got signed to Interscope Records. I got a standing ovation at the Apollo Theater for playing a solo as, the only white guy in an African band. And we actually played together. Um, we played for Prince twice. I met Prince twice with this
Wow.
band, working in Minneapolis, playing at his club, Glam Slam, and yeah, we went all over the
That's
world. And
awesome.
we also got signed by Tough Gong Records, which is Bob Marley's label. So I actually traveled to Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, West Africa. So as an artist, I played in West Africa at the biggest um, reggae sunsplash reggae festival, the first reggae festival that ever went from Jamaica to West Africa.
Very
So
cool. Good stuff.
after I
That's
was doing,
great.
I
That's
was
great.
a part of this big world music scene, which is incredible, and it was really big. And then, of course, it died down. And just as it died down, ironically, somebody emailed me because you remember it was email back in the day. So they emailed me and said, "Did you sign this photo?" And, it was like everything stopped. And I said, "No, I've never autographed a photo." And he said, "Because I just paid $50 for this on eBay. You're Ari Lehman, the first Jason." I said, "Yes, I am." So it turned out somebody was forging my autograph.
Oh shit.
And I found out who it was. And the guy was nice enough to return the money to people. And he said, been ripping off quite a few people, but he said, "Oh, he got it from a third party, yada, yada, bing, bong." But whatever. So then I realized, wow, what's this all about? Being an artist, you're always,
Yeah.
if, if you could get any kind of attention, the people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what happened was, um, Tony Timpone from Fangoria magazine invited me to the Meadowlands where they did it was a Fangoria Chiller Theater event. And Betsy Palmer was there, Tom Savini was there, Kane Hodder was there. It was incredible. And I had my reggae albums because I had my own reggae band too. And people were listening to that. But I looked around and I realized, hey, you know, it's about punk, it's about metal. Um, because every metalhead is a horror fan, every punk is a horror fan.
Hmm.
So you know, I kind
Yeah.
of thought about it. Now, when I had been coming up at NYU, I was good buddies with the lead singer from a killer punk band called Reagan Youth. His name was Reagan Dave Rubenstein. This guy was amazing. This is a great band. Unfortunately, he passed away, and Paulie, his guitar player, passed away just a few years ago. But Reagan Youth, an amazing band, an anarchistic band, totally punked, um, from a total super anarchist uh point of view,
Mhm.
and it was just a blast. And so he would take me to see all these artists. Like I saw Bad Brains, okay, which everybody was loved Bad Brains at that time, and I saw White Zombie with Rob Zombie when he had Sean Yassault as the bass
Yes.
player, sick
Yeah.
bass player, and of
Wow.
course we were all like, "Oh, Sean is like," it was it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was a wild time. So I started to draw upon what I knew and started to listen to more rock. And I was really drawn to Motorhead. I was really drawn to Glenn Danzig's work. And so, I put together what became First Jason.
Yeah.
Um, at first, I had help from two musicians, one who had worked in the Cro-Mags as a drummer. His name was Meat Cleaver, and he would often sub for the drummer because the drummer and the lead singer had conflicts sometimes. So he toured with them in Europe. Then the bass player from a band that everyone should know about. Oh, by the way, Cro-Mags just came out with a new song that everybody should listen to because it's killer. It's on Spotify. Um, so I got to Chicago and I met an artist named Nefarious. He's the bass player from the band Macabre. Okay, Macabre, which is the original. Thank you. The original, the original murder metal band, the Jeffrey
Yes.
Dahmer album that just amazing, amazing musicians. They had a hiatus, and Chuck Chuck Leshkovitz, was able to play on my first two albums, in fact. And he toured with us for a little while, but then Macabre came back together and he had to go back to Macabre. So that was like, that was a gift sent from hell, let me tell you, man, because
That's awesome.
Chuck is the one who said to me, Ari, you need to bring your keyboard in. You got to play keyboard. And it's because of Chuck that one day I took an Alesis synthesizer and I like duct taped it to this giant cosplay sword I had, and I put a guitar strap on it, and I made the very, very first electric machete guitar. Now, of course, as time passed, now I play one created by Roland, and it's absolutely the the bomb. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's awesome.
It actually looks very weaponized. So, but originally I would use a cosplay sword and a synthesizer and just duct tape it, and then I would put it all through guitar distortion. So that's the key for my sound is taking analog synth at first and putting it through guitar distortion and then emulating the sound of Lemmy Kilmister because Lemmy, the way he plays bass, he doesn't play bass.
Mhm.
He plays he's playing like all this crazy stuff if you watch Lemmy.
Mhm.
And actually it's a little video about it where he's talking about it. So I was like, yeah, he's playing intervals. So
Yeah.
that's what I did. I just stole that from Lemmy. And then, I looked around myself at different bands that were here in Chicago and bands that I loved in New York. There's a lot of killer bands here in Chicago, like Johnny Vomit. People don't know enough about. There's a great band called The Ugly. People should know about from Chicago, and another extreme amazing band called Maggot Twat. Everybody should check out Maggot Twat. Please, gotta check out the song "Kill the Bitch." Maggot Twat, kill the bitch. Gotta hear it. And as a matter of fact, the lead singer from Maggot Twat has a new band out. They're called Fonzie and the Dago Tees. So,
We just got our R rating from Ari's
so
band.
Fonzie and the Dago Tees are performing with us at the WC Social Club, together with Coyote Man and a bunch of other bands, and that's going to be on October 30th. That's in West Chicago.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. So,
Uncle Pete, I know Uncle Pete's dying to get in there with the music stuff with you, so
yeah.
I'll definitely throw to him to chat on you.
Yeah, so Ari,
That
so in
fonts,
January,
everybody mentioned those killer metal bands. Yeah, and
yeah,
Maggot
so
fonts like that.
So in January, Into the Fray comes out. So I've been listening to it. Like I hear influences I hear power metal in there. I hear like some Man of War riff, stuff like that. Definitely gore. I hear a lot of gore influence,
Oh,
horror punk, the Misfits. Like you said, Glenn Danzig. So I hear that Misfits, that gore, that horror punk, but I hear groove and jazz mixed into it. So,
yeah.
but also I think one people I know is like you co-did this album with the legendary Henry Manfredini. How did that
Yeah.
come about?
Harry Manfredini, the soundtrack composer of Friday the 13th. Yes, Into the Fray, our first album on CDN Records, because we got signed to CDN Records out of Canada. The guy that runs CDN Records is named Cannibal Cam Schwartz. And so Cam Schwartz said to me, why don't you ask Harry Manfredini, because I know you guys are friends. Why don't you ask Harry, see what he'll do? So I called up Harry. He was like, yeah, Ari, yeah, you got it, man, because he's the greatest person on earth. And by the way, he gives music to soundtrack composers. And I mean, if you're making a movie, he'll give you Harry Manfredini music. It's amazing. He's got it online. So I thought Harry was just going to give us one introduction for the whole album, like an overture, if you will. So then one day, Harry hits me up. He's like, check your inbox. And I'm like, what? And so he had listened to each song and created a 1 minute introduction for each song. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you saying that so much because, I love the idea of an album. And I'll admit to you, the album it's like me. It's eclectic. It's eccentric. Okay. It definitely has a lot of different, I mean, how about that machete mambo at the end? And
Yeah.
and that was the suggestion of Rob Ruccia, who's I don't know if you guys know Nonpoint, but Nonpoint is this killer new metal band, and they record here in Chicago. So Rob Ruccia is their engineer, and he also produces my albums. So he said, "Hey, come up with a dance track." That's how that happened. But so back to the idea. Yeah. So it became a collaboration with Harry Manfredini. Now, to me, that in itself is historic. The fact that the guy that played the little boy Jason in Friday the 13th and the actual soundtrack composer from Friday the 13th, 46 freaking years later,
Yeah.
did an album
That's
together.
awesome.
So now if you listen
That's
to it, I mean, it's kind of like a horror Dark Side of the Moon,
It
like
is.
it.
you're on a
Yeah.
little, you know,
So
and it's a
you've also
good.
done a lot of you've done a lot of supporting acts. I was like, one that kind of blew me away, like Ice Nine Kills and stuff. But then I read the band on your website, and I'm gonna say Onward to Golgotha, Incantation. So like you actually worked
I
with
knew you were going to
that.
say that.
That's like this is going back to my childhood in the early '90s about getting into death metal. That's why when you said macabre, I was like, oh yeah, Sinister Slaughter. The whole album dedicated to serial killers, and they had that Dahmer concept album. But like you got to work with Incantation as a death metal guy. That's huge.
John McKenty, the singer of Incantation, is another one of the most amazing people I've ever met. Not only is he an amazing musician and singer and band leader, so he put together an event called Carolina Chainsaw Massacre. So at Carolina Chainsaw Massacre, he had nuclear assault, he had incantation, he had some of the most amazing thrash metal bands. And I have to tell you, holy um they're the greatest musicians of the metal scene. You watch thrash players, their musicianship is so high, it's just out the roof. And First Jason isn't a thrash band, but they loved us and they accepted what we did. We came out there and we were pumped and we did a killer set. And in fact, I got the biggest applause. Well, they loved You Better Run because that has that arpeggiated.
Mhm.
They love anything. They love anything with a lot of musicianship. So, but then I played at every show I play the Bach toccata. It's like, oh, they love that. So I was just happy. We had a blast at that show, and Incantation, oh my God, they're touring all over the world, and the level of musicianship, that scene is a thing unto itself. And if you love great music, yeah, you got to check that out.
So, like, you've opened for a lot. If you could, like, I already put together, like, I picked two bands that I think would be great if you like did a little tour with. I think they fit musically. So I'm going to hit you with it, and I'm like, tell us like who'd you love to open for, like a dream gig. But I think a Gore, Psycho Stick, and First Jason show would
Yeah,
be theatrical.
yeah.
It would just be a like bombastic and just like a blast. And like for all three of you bands to do a song at the end, I'd be losing my mind. So, like, who do you wish you could ever open for?
100%. I'd love to open for Guar, and I think we did open for Psycho Stick one time. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Oh
Or
yeah.
and also, you can throw Green Jello into the mix, and all those guys. Um, See now, I dig what you're saying, Uncle Pete, and nowadays the costume band thing is a big thing. Like you look at Ghost, and especially you look at Sleep Token. Oh my God, they just came in and just blew the scene up. And still, people don't even know who that guy is. And there's so many rock chicks just totally in love with this guy. They don't even know who he is, which is amazing. But, but see, this is the thing. In First Jason, the experience for the audience member isn't just that we're utilizing the horror realm as our storytelling perspective, because there's that, but then there's also you are meeting the person who played the character of Jason Voorhees. So there's a different dimension wherein instead of me showing you a horror mask, a facade, if you will, um, which is fine because that's definitely part of horror. Instead, with First Jason, I'm inviting you to come with me on a journey back in time to Camp Crystal Lake, where you become a Voorhees family member and witness the journey that began in 1979 when Sean Cunningham said action and Jason was born. I say that at the beginning of every show. So it's it's another level. So there is, of course, we're talking about horror, we're talking about Kill for Mother, but we're all talking about put on the mask, take on the task.
And
So
that's what I
that
loved about it. Into the Fray, because I love Slashist was my favorite song. I just love the way
thank
Slashist were going and lyrics and stuff. So that really fits in with that album, especially with Henry Manfredini working, because like you have introduction, like I have my notes, like it's like a chase scene. Some of his scores, I could picture Jason stalking somebody through the woods, going for that kill, and then bam, here comes in his meta song, telling a story about Jason, about being Jason and stuff. So it's not like a
you.
story album, but it tells you, yeah, it does tell you a story.
There you go, because it's coming from my life experience. And I'm so happy with that album. And I'll tell you one thing, I've decided that the next album is going to be heavy from top to bottom. I've decided I'm just gonna go heavy. I
Nice.
was even thinking about incantation and thrash today. I was just saying that today. But yeah. Um um you know, that's
Yeah.
that's all about. What were you just saying? Because I wanted to comment on what you were just saying. Dang, I lost my train of thought. But
Um, about what part? I lost my train too. I'm just going to. I see. I said I had. I just.
about the song Slashist.
Yes.
So the song Slashist that came up out of uh so there was a punk band called the Screamers from Los Angeles. They were the original punk bands. And they didn't like if you ever see their logo, it's like it says Screamers and it's the guy with the hair going straight up. It's a very famous logo. And they were from way back in the late 70s. So the Screamers, they did all this cool stuff. So um the lead singer was named Tamada DePlenty, and Tamada DePlenty was originally a circus mime and clown, and so he did all this amazing like gestures and everything, and he came up with all this crazy stuff, which was later, um, Jello Biafra totally, was into that, but from Dead Kennedy. But so Tamada DePlenty, I heard him say they have no albums out, and there's like they only have live recordings and live videos where you can see the streamers. So one time, Tamada says he goes, "Your your fascism makes me want to do some slashism," and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
They came up with slashist. And the beginning it goes camp. He goes Camp Crystal Lake, population one. Okay, Camp Crystal Lake, population one. See, the Screamers, Tamada DePlenty, came out with a movie called Population One, which is about the end of the world, and the only person left is Tamada DePlenty. So anyway,
That's awesome.
that's a little bit of a oh, and then the other song that refers to is a Ramon song. There's a Ramon song that refers to too. So there you go. Uh,
The passion, you can hear it in your voice, man,
yes.
and love it.
Oh, thank you,
I
brother.
wanna jump to, years later when I had alluded that, like, you kind of, like, disappeared from the scene, from the film scene. Years later, there's this giant world of conventions and cons that opens up and is around for, you to be celebrated and you to enjoy and to just really take it in, and you by all intents and purposes seem to be doing that. And so I kind of want to talk about that, what those conventions and what they mean to you, and how much fun they are to do.
Well, I definitely got my start on the horror con scene. That's definitely what propelled first Jason to get in front of a larger audience. Prior to The Walking Dead now, the horror con scene was much different. It wasn't as I don't know, as expansive as it is now. And like I would go to cons and it would be Kane Hodder, Bill Mosley, Sid Haig, Elvira, and me. Those are the real people from the cons, and an A-list actor, oh my god, they never would have considered being at a con of any kind. And they in fact would make fun of that, oh my god, oh, are you going to like and flash to today when now you have A-list actors at every con. You've got a totally different scene going on. So at the beginning I thought to myself, wow, let's add to this whole thing, bringing the band in. It's funny because it's like full circle now, the way things go, because there's a lot of events doing this. Let's do a smaller event where we bring the band in and people can all rock out with the first Jason Voorhees and actually meet the guy that played the first Jason Voorhees, because, you know, it would be like 3 to 500 people, just these small events. And, and I love doing that. That is where we all have such great fun. I can talk to everybody, meet everybody, and you set it up and it's intimate. And we usually work together with local bands. So you're bringing in all kinds of local bands and their families. I mean, gosh, for example, we were just in West Virginia. We did Oak Hill Con, which was in Oak Hill, West Virginia,
That's great.
put
That
together by
works.
my buddy Clay from Retro Reset. And what an amazing event. There was people from 80, 80-year old to 8 months old. It was like everybody came in out of the woods, everybody just came in, and it was nonstop. Oh, who else was there? Judy Aronson was there
Oh,
from
nice.
before, and it was great. It
That's
went
great.
so well. Um, it went so well, and then at the end of it all, we got up on stage and rocked out for everybody, and
Yeah.
it was perfect because the weather was so great, and we were playing literally like into the hills. And I was like, at one point, I think I was like, "Come on, Bigfoot, come on, you Sasquatch, come on."
That's
So
awesome.
So that's my thing. I love going
Yeah,
all over the country, to all kinds of places. And it did start with cons. Now, I would say now I'm playing at all kinds of different things. We sometimes do movie theaters, we do casinos, we do tattoo cons, we do
that's
a
cool.
lot of rock venues, especially if they're having like a horror theme night. We
Yeah.
play it at amusement parks. We play it at
Well,
like every kind of
you're
venue.
you're an alumni. You're an alumni at Blairstown Diner. We just interviewed Mike Rumsey not too long ago, and I mean that's like your
Oh,
home
I can't
court,
wait
right?
to do that show. Mike is a genius because you see, everybody's trying to do this thing now of putting together something small and having people there because that's, sometimes the bigger cons are a bit much for people to handle. But he made the good move of making it a real music festival and bringing in a lot of bands from that region. He's got some great bands on the bill. Um, and he also has a bunch of actors coming in. So and then that's always a great event. I mean, because
It seemed
the
like a
time
lot of fun.
packed, you can eat some delicious food, and it's like you're meeting with all kinds of people who love Friday the 13th. The last time we were there was people from all over the world that showed up. And
That's
first date
amazing.
there on July 18th. We're really stoked about that. Yeah.
So,
That's
out of all the conventions you've done, what's the weirdest thing you've ever signed? Like, what's
Weirdest
like
thing
what?
I've ever signed. Okay. Well, one time I was at a convention at a haunted attraction called the Haunted Pyramids, which is way in the middle of the woods in North Carolina, I believe. And yeah, so um afterwards we were there, and I think Courtney Gaines was there, the guy who
yeah,
played Malachi in Children of the Corn.
yeah,
Oh, know who else was there? You know the movie Deliverance, where there's like
Mhm.
that guy playing the
yeah,
banjo?
yeah.
The guy playing the banjo was there.
No way.
I'm not kidding. He was
That's
there. Like,
that's
That's
awesome.
crazy.
he comes up to me and he's like, "Will you sign my shotgun?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll sign your shotgun." And they're like, "They won't let me bring it inside." I told them I wanted you to sign my.
That's
So
hilarious.
I had to go outside and, sure enough, I signed a bunch of weapons, and then I signed he's like, "Will you sign my pickup truck?" And I signed his pickup truck too. But,
Wow.
I signed everything. I've signed babies. I've signed, all kinds of one of the big honor is when someone asks me to sign, like a big tattoo, and they're gonna get my autograph.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a cool one. Yeah.
Always I
So
play all kinds of crazy objects and, you
you
know, mm, that's
you
cool.
talked about you talked about with you kind of hinted to like going back to the original filming location, and you do stuff with Crystal Lake Tours. How cool is that, all these years later to come full circle to not only just kind of like stumble upon the location, but a location that probably meant so much to you at such a, pivotal age, but then also just with fans celebrating it with you. Like how great is that experience?
Yeah, I mean, more than any other franchise, I think Friday the 13th owes its continued success to the fans. Because if you look like Nightmare on Elm Street, you had the same production team. You had the same actor. You always had Robert Englund. Friday the 13th kept changing hands.
Mhm.
And so they would turn to the fans to determine what was the future of Friday the 13th. And in Friday the 13th, you mentioned the camp. I also think that Camp Crystal Lake is one of the characters in Friday the 13th.
100%.
Director of photography, Barry Abrams, who hardly ever gets mentioned. And he was an amazing character, hilarious Texan, Barry Abrams, also a pilot, just a funny guy. But he loved shooting the nature and including the nature. And if you'll notice, a lot of Friday the 13th purposely does not have a soundtrack. They just use the nature sounds. You'll hear wind, you'll
Yeah.
hear rain, you'll hear the birds. And yeah, there's that famous scene where Kevin Bacon and his girlfriend are and they're looking that rain's gonna come down like a son of a,
Yes.
you know, like so
It's
nature
so real.
really show the they show the lake getting all turbulent, and that's when the shit hits the fan. So there's a lot of great nature scenes where the camp itself is a character. The first time that I got back to Camp Crystal Lake, which is years ago, um, yeah, I ran right in the water and just jumped right in the water, and it was great.
That's
And,
awesome.
you know, I love swimming there, of course. But honestly,
That's
we first Jason does more work with Blairstown Diner because they let us play loud rock there.
yeah.
Of
Yeah,
course.
they're pretty guarded still, even though they've opened it up, which is great, but
Yeah.
they still kinda hold to
It's a
their
Boy
Boy
Scout
Scout.
camp, and they have a lot of rules, and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
just leave it at that.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny, and we will leave it at that. But I will say this: if you read a lot of the comments these days, it seems like those rules are kind of like mounting. We'll just leave it at that. Like you said, I love that you gave a shout out to Barry Abrams because I Friday 13th, the first one, is my favorite. I know we've talked about this before on our podcast that like the great thing about this franchise is there's a lot of people with different favorites, and that's the cool thing about this franchise. Friday is my first favorite, and it's because of the setting, it's because of the mood, it's because of the woods, it's because of the cinematography and everything else that kind of
Walt
follows.
Gorney and Walt Gorney. You got
Well, yes, yes, there
great
he
Walt.
is.
Yep.
Dude,
And the
Um,
I
thing is
love
about
that.
yeah.
the
But
the
I
ending.
want one. Did you make that? Did you make that?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
But do you wanna hear okay, I'm gonna tell you a funny story about this shirt. I got it and I wore it to an event, and, there was this big giant bouncer, and he looks at me and he's like, "I love your shirt, man." And I'm like, "Yeah, Friday guy." I'm like, "Awesome." Then later on, he finds me, he's like, "Where'd you get your shirt?" And then I just said that, like, it's yeah, I don't know where I got it, but I was kinda telling he had no idea it was from Friday the 13th. He just liked the fact that it was an old guy with doomed on it. Here I
Oh,
am here I am thinking I got like this buddy here that gets it. And no, he just
that's
liked the
dark.
it was
That's
so
dark,
it
man.
was
He was
funny.
like, yeah,
It
we're
was
all dudes. Yeah,
yeah.
bro.
It's too bad he's not around right now these days because, it would have been great to see him at some of these things and collect his cookies, right? Um, okay,
Well, the
I'm gonna
great Ron Milkey. Ron
sorry?
Milkey. Ron Milkey, who played Officer Dorff, lives
Yes.
in New York. Yeah, and he's great to talk to, and he has stories about Walt and about, of course, Rex Everhart, who played the truck driver, and
Yeah, yeah. He was there
Ron,
when I went.
all those guys.
He was there when I went. He was there, Adrian was there, and oh shoot. I'm gonna kill myself for not remembering her name. Annie. Oh, the actress that played Annie.
Morgan.
Sorry?
Uh, her last name is Morgan.
Yeah, Robbie.
Thank you,
No, thank you. You bailed me out there. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so they were there and
Robbie. Robbie Morgan.
yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
And they were great. They were great. But again, this was like at the very beginning when they were just kind of getting their sea legs. And I think some of the rules were a little bit more relaxed from what I'm hearing. And so it was a good time. But yeah. So
But everybody should come see us at the Blairstown Diner.
I
And
agree.
by
Yes.
the way, if you're a Friday the 13th fan, you can just go to the Blairstown Diner anytime. And it's covered in Friday the 13th memorabilia and collectibles. You just, it's just a diner. You can just walk right in there and have a slice of pie.
Absolutely. What they're doing is fantastic. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I do have a couple of quick little questions, but Uncle Pete, before we let Ari go, is there anything you
Mhm.
wanted to
No, I just wanted to tie in what you guys were saying about the original Friday the 13th. Like, it's like top 3 for me, but it's that last scene that I'll never get out of my head. And obviously, Ari, it's you. It's because when it's Crystal Lake, right? And she's in that canoe, got her finger in it, like her night is over. That water is so crystal, so calm and everything. And you think the movie's over. And one of the best jump scare movie endings in the history of horror. If you put together a top 10 list, you're gonna throw that in there for just to be such a part of such iconic, iconography in
Pretty
horror.
loud. Yeah.
It's just so wonderful. Like that last scene in that movie. Without it, we may not have Jason today. Like if you didn't do
No,
that, we
or
may not.
nor
It could have been a different movie.
nor would have there been a lot of the films which emulate Friday the 13th. And
Yeah.
there's so many levels to that scene because um first of all, why the hell did she get in a boat? She cuts off Mama's head, then she gets in a boat. She does not have a paddle because Mama cut the paddle in half. So she's just out on a boat, you know, and so it's very symbolic and evocative, okay? The first thing you see is the water and the light on the water, which always represents, and it's the next morning. So it's like we've been cleansed, and the morning, and everybody was so reassured when they see the two policemen.
And that beautiful soundtrack that
Yeah, thank you. The strings are just
yeah.
reassuring us. And he says, "Are you okay?" And he stands there. And then even again, the second policeman's coming out. "Are you okay? Everything's gonna be fine." Oh, here she is. She's feeling fine. She doesn't even regret that she just cut someone's head off, right? Hurt you, and then bleep, 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 bleep. Oh my God! People were like, instantly, when they saw the shocking image of that muddy child, okay, just shatter their tranquility.
Yeah.
They forgot. They completely forgot who's Alice Hardy, who's Pamela Voorhees, who's anybody. No? What is that? Who is that?
Yeah.
Why? I want to know more. Tell me about this muddy child.
Yep.
And then
And
they
then the
saw.
movie ends, and she's in the
Yeah,
hospital, and she's like,
yeah.
"What about the boy?" You're like, "We didn't find any boy," and the movie's over. So you're like, It's just so great.
But I saw him. I saw him. Exactly. So it's
It
like this wonderful blurring of reality and and fantasy. And then we've got to remember again, she wakes up in the hospital. Jason doesn't kill her. So
Mhm.
what happened? What actually
I
happened?
was just gonna ask you.
Why didn't the policeman see two cops there? How did he not see? So the whole thing becomes suspension of reality, and it's up to you as the viewer to make the
Yes.
decision. And it's never been defined by Sean Cunningham or Victor Miller, and it will never be because it's leaving it undefined that makes it more symbolic and more meaningful.
Just like the ending of The Thing. He's not, you don't know, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's what I love about it. It's how you interpret it. So I kind of love it. I love that.
Well, that's an amazing achievement. I mean, that's you're talking about. I mean,
Well, yeah,
yes.
the
Thank
greatest horror
you.
movie ever. Well, yeah, but
Thank you
still.
for comparing Friday the 13th to that.
Of course.
Listen, that's where we hold it. That's where I hold it high in that
Yeah.
regard. So I'm gonna ask you.
Shakespeare film. You know what people don't really realize is Stephen King's It. The original It, again, Stephen King strikes again. But the original Stephen King's It. Friday the 13th is amazing. It's a wonderful, fun film. But the photography, the symbolism, the use of shapes, the use of colors, the acting, the character development. Oh my God, the circle of friends. It's beyond belief. I didn't even talk about Tim Curry. So
Yeah, for
whereas
sure.
I'm so glad that Friday the 13th had the impact that it did, and I'm pretty sure it was because of that shocking final scene.
It
Um,
paved the way. It paved the way, right? Like, I mean, yeah, a lot of those ones wouldn't follow after if it wasn't for that scene. Got a question for you though. Okay, gonna put you on the spot. Other than your movie, which is your favorite Friday the 13th film?
Honestly, that's part 7, directed by John Buechler, which is Ian Hodder's
Yeah,
first foray as Jason Voorhees. I know not everybody
that's a
agrees.
hot take.
As you said, but
That's
the reason
awesome, though.
why I love it so much is that you've got you got the female character, okay?
Tina.
Right. Thank you. You've got the doctor and Tina. And there's this whole other aspect of like a foil for Jason Voorhees finally.
Yeah.
And then the character, if you look at the special effects, it really reflects all the different wounds and all the beatings that Jason
Yes.
prior to that. That's because John Beekler was a special effects artist and he directed the movie and just an amazing person, a renaissance man. So his vision for Friday the 13th really begins with part 7 with Jason, and then there's amazing scenes like where she's psychic, like psychic Tina, man. It's the perfect foil for Jason because she's psychic and he's just absolutely, physical. So she's like throwing, farm implements at him with her mind, and then the mask blows off and he's looking at her like, you bitch, and then the whole
Yeah.
place on fire. I mean, that's dramatic as hell. I just thought there was some real drama there that added more depth. And I think it could have gone
Yeah.
somewhere for that, but they decided on a different thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had the great honor to meet and be friends with John Beekler, who was just a wonderful guy. He would come down to the table and he would be like singing. He was always singing opera. Good morning, everyone.
That's
I
awesome.
heard he was a great man, so that's
That's cool.
I'm glad you paid tribute to him in that regard. And that's one hell of a hot take. But that that being said, honestly, like this has been a blast. I think some of the stories you shared I haven't
Yeah.
heard. And
Well, now we have to get ready. We didn't even talk about the Crystal Lake TV series, which is coming.
well,
That's
we
right,
can.
people. Get ready. Crystal Lake is going to be on your TV set, and we got Linda
Cardellini.
Cardellini. Linda Cardellini. I just saw her speaking. She's been speaking. She spoke from the red carpet. She spoke, and it gives me a lot of confidence. The director, what's his name? Caleb Kane. Um, he seems like an amazing director. He directed Welcome to Derry, which
Yes.
is a take on it, which I was just talking about. So Brad Caleb Kane, that's the name of the director. So ironically, his last name is Kane. So there you go.
There you go.
Uh,
So it's meant to be, right? Yeah, no, you're right. We got a lot to look forward to as Friday fans for the first time in a while. But yeah, and
also,
I
yeah,
definitely
you guys will have some of the actors from the TV series on your show.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
We're open to it all.
I'm
We're
open.
open to it all. We just love the franchise. It's an unsung franchise and it's a pivotal one in my life. That definitely growing up. So I just love the whole environment that these films have created. So, and you I gotta say are, really special for this world. You really embrace it. You don't just answer questions. You really, you go for it. Yeah, you really give everybody the energy that they want when they talk to someone who's involved. So I credit you for having that energy that some people just, can't muster up. So thank you, Ari.
Well, thank you, Jason and Uncle Pete. And let me say that when we make a movie, it's hundreds of people that come together and we work hard and use our imagination and come up with this movie. And then when they say it's a wrap, it's like dust in the wind and some people you never see again.
Yeah.
But when you watch the movie as an audience and you use your imagination, then you're bringing all those people together and our imaginations meet, and that's movie magic. And that will never end. The whole thing of storytelling, and it's just getting better and better, and I'm encouraged the way things are going now. And I really, really appreciate the time that you took to learn about my career and all the kind things that you've said. I really, really appreciate that, guys.
Well, it's the
No,
least
we
we could
appreciate
do.
this is like as a horror fan, I'll just think it to myself to have the first guy to ever play Jason, Friday the 13th, 1980, to sit down and have a conversation with you as just a fan is mind-boggling to me. It's just, and to
Sure.
talk about metal, it's just so
Oh,
much fun. I love your passion for it because we share it.
I like you guys and we're friends, so it sucks that now I gotta kill you. Ah!
We'll end it with that. Thank you, Ari Lehman. Thanks for watching the Crazy Ralph podcast. We might have to have him on again. I mean, look at this. This has
Yeah.
been too good of a time.
You
So
guys come to Camp Crystal Lake. We'll do a live one. Come on.
that's right. Okay.
Live
There you
podcast.
go. There you go. Thank you very much for watching, listening, and we'll see you soon.
Jason never dies.